Како парламентите можат да бидат агенти на промени кога станува збор за родова еднаквост?
Thank you for this question. Well, this was an issue that was actually discussed yesterday in an event that was in a way co-organized by our Committee on Equality and Non-Discrimination and 5 Nordic countries. You have material from that meeting. Let me maybe say in simple words how I have lived this experience in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. One word, what is the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe? It's not the European Parliament, it's not a national parliament, it's a parliamentary assembly bringing together national parliamentarians from 46 member states, which means that they come here from their national parliaments and they go back to their national parliaments. So whatever we decide, we discuss, whatever experience they get here, they can bring it back to their national parliaments, including legislative changes. So, of course, this is the most obvious contribution of a parliament, legislative changes to improve gender equality in the legal framework. But I would say this is not only enough. So what happened with our Parliamentary Assembly? I was elected in January 2021, so exactly 4 years ago, as the first woman Secretary General after more than 70 years of this Parliamentary Assembly.
It's a big success for you and for your country and for the Council of Europe, of course.
It was a joint effort, and I was proud to be encouraged by many women members of Assembly, but also by many men, because at that time women were most 1/3 more or less of the Parliamentary Assembly. So I wouldn't have been elected if it weren't also for men's votes. So for me, it's not a woman-man issue. Gender equality brings better democracy. And this is exactly the message we have been trying to give when we celebrated the 75 years of the organization last year, including through the profiles of 75 women, that promoting gender equality means promoting a better democracy. And I think this was a message also yesterday, how we promote change. It is not just to give women better rights, it's about improving democracy. So coming back to the role of national parliaments, here in the Assembly, the first aim, I said, was legislative change, because our own rules needed to be adapted. One aspect was ethical framework. There were no provisions about harassment that could take place against members of parliament, but let's face it, it's mainly men to women and not the other way around. So we had a study jointly with the IPU about the fact that 80% of women members of parliament or women members of staff of parliaments have been at least one subject to harassment, either physical or psychological harassment. This was a quite striking research, so we adapted our rules to provide precisely for the different types of harassment, and also to provide for answers how you deal with it when the incident happens, so that a victim knows what is the procedure. Second legislative change was to introduce rules in our rules of procedure that would allow a higher number of women members of the Assembly. So we made it so that every delegation would send a proportional number of women and men than their national parliaments, but if in the national parliaments this percentage was less than 33%, less than 1/3 women, they would have to send us at least 1/3 women. Now, this may sound obvious in the century we're living in on the European continent, but it was not. We realized that many delegations couldn't achieve this 1/3 women, and we heard things like, we don't have enough interest from women, we don't have enough women who speak foreign languages, women want to stay home to take care of children and grandchildren rather than coming to Strasbourg. Of course, this was all rhetoric that was totally fake. From the moment the rule was in place, all national delegations respected it. So last year, it was the first year where we had almost 50% women in our assembly, and we got very active women members of the assembly who are here. We could count maybe the presence even at least equally, if not more present than men, who speak languages and have the skills. So this also is an example how a change in the rules book, if you want, can promote also a change of mentalities, because these women MPs is, I think, the best example of how we can improve this mentality and this fake perception that women are more busy with family than men. I think we have proved by now that we can take care of the family and still be present in the public affairs.
Спомнавте статистика, 80% од жените дека биле подложни на вознемирување. За какво вознемирување точно станува збор?
Well, it was a big research carried out jointly with IPU, which means the parliaments of the whole world, basically. Apart from cases of attempt to rape or even rape, there were cases of what we call psychological harassment, where a woman could be threatened to do certain things, just, you know, to get her vote in one direction. Otherwise, there could be defamation about her as a woman, but also smaller things that we've been discussing with some speakers of national parliaments also, when this mere fact that you would gossip about a woman's appearance, about the clothes she's wearing when she gets a public function. I don't think we discuss the color of the tie of a speaker of a national parliament if he's a man, but we will discuss the color of the shoes or the color of the hair or the jewels that a woman maybe is wearing. And I would bring the known example of the Slovenian speaker, the first woman speaker of parliament in Slovenia, who received so many comments about her red shoes that there was almost there was a movement of women starting buying and wearing red shoes in support to her.
Of course.
And you see, these are small examples, and with legislative changes you can change mentalities, but often you need to change mentalities in order to bring legislative changes. One other initiative I personally took, and then it flew even away from me, and I'm sure it will be valid if tomorrow I'm not here anymore, was to bring together women members of the Assembly. For the first time, in March 2022, we created a group of women at pace, and this meant that these women would gather together irrespectively of the political group or the national delegation, and even if they were not registered in any political group. Gather together not only to speak about women issues, as sometimes we say, but to speak about any issue with a woman perspective. These meetings have gathered a greater and greater attention and participation. We had exchange of views with women presidents of state or heads of government or former heads of government. In each country we are organizing these meetings. And this week we will have the first meeting of our women members of the Assembly with our women ambassadors. And we are very eager to create synergies between the two statutory organs of the organization at woman level. Last but not least, I would quote the new prize we created, the Victims Prize for Women Empowerment, inspired by the first woman ever elected president of a country, the president of Iceland. And we had the first prize last year. We have now candidatures open until mid-March for initiatives that empower women. So whether a woman or a man who through or an association, through their action, are promoting women empowerment.
Избрани се 75 жени во историјата, 75 годишната историја на Советот на Европа како значајни, влијателни жени во таа историја на Советот на Европа. Сега може ли да објасните каква е всушност улогата и на кој начин се промовираат сушност жените во овој контекст кога станува збор за нивно партиципирање, нивна работа, нивна улога во политика, во дипломатија, во меѓународни односи и организации. Меѓу тие жени сте и вие и нашата амбасадорка Светлана Гелева.
Yes, I truly believe it was a very successful initiative, not just because I had the honor to be part of these 75 women, but because I think that putting a face and make it visible as it was, suddenly our corridors were full of these women faces throughout the years of the organization, makes us realize better the role that women can play in politics and in diplomacy. This is the year where UN will be talking about this, peace, security and women. This will be also the topic that we are organizing for the meeting of the women speakers of parliaments. In March, we will gather together speakers of national parliaments from all over member states, and we will have a special meeting for women women speakers on the women's role in peace and security. And we can see that often women may have the right skills to bring forward diplomatic efforts, at least equally or better than a man. And this is a goal, I think, to get more women in politics and more women dealing with security issues and not having places reserved for them for, education or gender equality ministries, but also see them taking a stronger role in the difficult ministries like defense, foreign affairs and security issues.
Ви благодарам за овој разговор.
Thank you. Thank you.